The Ford Fiesta ST line is one of the vehicles you wanted to see, and of course we're happy to deliver you that one here in exterior, interior and the driving experience here in this sporty ST line, the all-new generation of the Fiesta. Everything you need to know about this vehicle. And we will also give you a sneak preview of the real Fiesta ST, the powerful ST. On Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas and of course in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So in the front, the ST line has this glossy black grille. In general, front grille is very aggressive, very wide for such a small vehicle, and also a stronger lower bumper right there. For the headlights, no LED are available, but again, they want to keep the price low. It starts at 13,000 euros in Germany, for example, and for the ST line, you pay about 4,000 euros more. Of course, there are some exterior features and also interior features. We'll take a look at what do you get for this. However, what is available from LED are the daytime running lights, and they are really very beautiful. Or what do you think? 4 meters and 4 or 13 foot 2 is the total length. That's about 7 centimeters longer than the previous generation of the Fiesta. The ST line comes with a special badge right there. Then it starts usually with 15-inch. The ST line gets 17-inch rims. Those ones here are the top, the maximum spec, optional also for the ST line with 18-inch. Looks pretty massive on this vehicle, doesn't it? And also for the ST line you can optionally get this contrasting colors. For example here, a white roof and also white covers here for the side mirrors. I think it's more elegant to have one color in it. Or what do you think? Do you like that one here? And pretty strong door handles, you can see it right here. Design line on height of the door handles, and the rest is really classic Fiesta style, so not a real revolution for this new generation. And if you're interested in even more colors or even more trims and specs and comparison, then also later on check out our other Fiesta review, then you'll even see more details. Today we'll continue here first with the ST line. So you've seen that also in the side profile you got another lower, stronger bumper with the ST line, and here is also a kind of diffuser style in the lower part, and we also see the real exhaust tip right there. In general, the new generation of the Fiesta also has those new taillights which are horizontally oriented. They have a little bit of a gap right there, and overall you say, it's the strong front definitely, and side profile and the rear are rather drawn back conservatively. What do you think about the design of the Fiesta, and here also especially with the ST line? Tell me in the comments. So what about the engines? First of all, the most common engine here now, especially in Germany, is now the new 1-liter turbo petrol engine, 3-cylinder with 100 horsepower. That one can also be combined with automatic gearbox. We've driven that one in the earlier review. Then 125 horsepower, or today, combined with the ST line, 140 horsepower, the strongest so far. Less powerful, there's a 1.1-liter naturally aspirated engine, 70 or 85 horsepower, or there's the 1.5-liter diesel with 2 horsepower specs. Later on, when we get the real ST, so this one here, the ST line, more design-oriented, you can get it with almost every engine besides the least powerful ones. The real ST then, with the 1.5-liter petrol with 200 horsepower. But this one here again, the so far strongest here for the normal Fiesta models, just combined with the design line. Really looking forward how much power this one has, also combined with the manual gearbox, so we'll have a lot of fun with it. So let's test those massive door handles. Wow, they're really extremely thick. And in the front also a nice door closing sound. And then here, this is the special protection here, automatic protection. It's just a manual system, pretty easily done. But this one protects it. You know, when you open the door, you won't touch another vehicle then, for example. So it's a really clever solution, and it works every time and is available for the front and the back doors. It's an optional system, like most of the stuff, as always. Then, ST line is defined by those red contour stitches on the inside. Here we have hard plastics. This one then here is leatherette. It's good work here with the automatic window levers, for example. Just a shallow space in the doors here. Then ST line also features those special entry badges right there. A sporty steering wheel with red contour stitches on the inside and also a flattened lower end. Also sporty carbon look decor elements. Then aluminum pedals in the lower part. This one is also part of the ST package. AC comes also, so air conditioning with the ST package, and those sport seats. So first of all, they are a little bit sportier. They have bigger side bolsters. And then they have the mix of cloth on the inside and, well, I'm not exactly sure. The prices says it would be leather, but it could also be leatherette. I'm not exactly sure. It is hard to get the real information because nowadays no one could really tell what it is. But I think in general what they've done with the seat looks very attractive. So let's get inside. And this one here, the ST line, has a sports suspension. You don't feel it that much when you just sit in the vehicle. However, we will probably feel it when we drive the car. That's, you know, what I'm looking forward to, as the Fiesta itself, the basis of the new generation, already drove sporty. Will it drive sportier even now? We'll find out. Then I'm 1.86 m or 6'1", and it's got still plenty of headroom left. That's no problem. If you compare it to other competitors here in the front, I mean, it's reasonable room, but not the most spacious one. So some of those new small segment cars have more room in the front, for example. That's not the biggest strength of Fiesta, but it's a new experience definitely with the new generation. You can also adjust the steering wheel. A good mechanism to all ways. Then the seats here is manual. You can change it here a little bit from the angle in the back, so you got a little bit more support in the back. Then this one here is to change the, this one here is to pump it up. But whoa, this is really hard. So putting it up is really, well, you need a lot of strength for that. And of course here, just in the length. And for the rear part is then this turning knob, where it's again, you have to be aware that you do not scratch your watch if you're wearing one, because it comes very close here to the B pillar. Overall, standard seating position in the small segment, but again, some other competitors have a little bit more comfort here, although the seats are actually quite good. But I think this one here is more sporty oriented if you consider also the other cars. Let's take a look at the interior here in the overview. First of all, this is a big step forward if you compare it to the previous generation. Much more worthy, the whole look. The material here is a little bit softened up on the top of the dashboard. We have red accentuations here in the ST line. There are 3 different infotainment systems. If you want to take a look at all of those 3, check the other video. For the ST line, you get the 6.5, or here the top one, the 8-inch screen with the new Think 3 Ford system. Soon more details to that. It does stand out here a little bit, but then again, it gives you also a clear view on that. Instruments are rather classic, very analog, just a small digital screen in the very middle part. And then the steering wheel is actually pretty big and thick for such a small car. But let's see how that performs when we really drive it. And the climate unit is still a classic one, turning up the vents and also the temperature in the very lower part. And a special manual shifting lever for the SD line with a sporty look. Then you have a USB charger and 12-volt power supply. And quite some room in the lower part there. And here the close-up on the instruments, pretty flat design. Left side RPM, right side speed, very classic. Just a small digital screen then there in the middle. So, and here it is, the infotainment, new Think 3. Finally a system you can work with. The Think 2 was still disappointing, but here you can see it reacts quite well. It could be a little bit faster though in its responsiveness. And basically beside those GPS views, what else do you have? There's this home button in the upper left. Then you have, for example, the phone can be connected with Bluetooth like this. Also reacts with a voice command, or you can also do it right there. But also a cable connection does now work for the smartphones. For example, here with Android Auto. It's like this. You can scroll like this, for example, and this is the audio, the radio menu. So everything is actually quite obvious. And as you can see here, it also works with Apple Carplay. That's how it looks like then. And by the way, this vehicle, seen maybe the speakers, is equipped with the optional Bang & Olufsen system. And I can really say, especially for such a small vehicle, the sound is excellent. So if you want to spend the additional money and you're a music fan, as I'm always listening to music when I drive cars, this is really worth it. So one of the best optional features, I guess. Great sound. And then here the middle console is still classic handbrake. This is the key here, by the way. And cup holders, they are adaptive, so they also hold beverages tight, and they are also illuminated with LED lighting. Pretty nice. And then middle console, middle armrest is a little bit loose here. This is probably the worst piece from the build quality. I would expect a little bit better than here. Then you can put some stuff in there, or then there's really a lot of space in the middle part there, and with an additional USB port. And that one can also be used not only for charging, but also for the Apple CarPlay connection. So what about the rear compartment? First of all, you also have this automatic cover folding out. And the door doesn't open too wide, so it's not too easy to get in. Also here, the beginning seat pillar, the lower wheel arches, they are pretty thick. And also, Nemo-wise, well, I do exactly fit behind the seats, but it's very close, so my knees already hit the front seat. Again, this is also not the strength of the Fiesta, the interior room, same for the rear compartment. This is not, it's not really bad, but it's not where it would be, where it would be leading the class. Of course, when I put the head restraints a little bit higher, then I can also sit better. Headroom-wise, it does exactly fit. I can put a hand flatly over my head, so this is quite okay. It does fit for 4 adults, yes, but not all 4 of them should be extremely tall. The rest of the seating position is fairly comfortable, but again, I would need some more knee room, at least when someone is my size here. Other than that, you can also have the standard is the ISOFIX on the outer seats, so you can also install child seats here. And you can already flip the rear bench from here. There's a 1/3, 2/3 split. But of course, we show you that from the trunk, how that really looks like. Other than that, it's also interesting that we have the same styling here in the rear. I think it's very nice when they repeat it also for the rear compartment. 292 liters is the official capacity figure for this trunk. It is somewhat shallow at first sight. 2 top tethers for child seats. And then this middle part is, that you have a smaller gap right here from the loading sill, but you can also put it up and then put stuff underneath, or you can also remove it completely to have even more space in there than, of course, with a hatch usual gap. And how does it look like when we flip the seats? That's, of course, even more interesting. Again, this was here 1/3, 2/3 split. This is the 2/3. Let's see that we also have the missing 1/3. Here we go, guys. It's not too easy to directly do it from the trunk. That's the maximum setup you get. And now the promised sneak preview for you for the real Fiesta ST, so the ST line, just a visual package. It's a little sportier spice from the suspension already. This one here is supposed to be even sportier, even a little bit stiffer, and of course more power. First of all, in the front you can also see there's a matte black grille, which adds a little bit more aggressiveness even, and under the hood then still a 3-cylinder, but then 1.5 liter of displacement and also more horsepower, 200 horsepower as the last final edition of the ST, and the acceleration figure will probably be also the same 6.7 it was before. It will be at least the same, maybe a little bit faster even. And what's interesting, this one here will also have cylinder-on-demand technology, so when it's running at the low RPM, it will partially not only use 3, but only 2 cylinders. Of course, all 3 of those when you really boost it. Spectacular 18-inch rims here, together with a matte grey finish of the side mirror covers, also with the lower bumper we've seen with the ST line. The rims are even a little bit more aggressive, and we also have a black panoramic roof inbuilt here. And another interesting aspect is, well, the ST will also be available with 3 and with 5 doors, and most of the new small cars in this segment, the manufacturers say, let's just do 5 doors and that's it. Here, with the Ford Fiesta, will still be available, not only as the ST in all of the versions, with 3 or 5 doors, you can still choose that. And in the rear, what is the biggest difference here? Well, in the lower part, we have a real diffuser right there, very beautifully done in the same blue vehicle color, and 2 exhaust pipes, signaling this one here is the performance one. And the interior will be mainly defined here by the ST seats, the special Recaro sport seats, mainly with the use of Alcantara on the inside. Unfortunately, this car is locked. We cannot get on the inside. It's not a press vehicle, but at least some sneak preview from the interior here for you. And now to our driving part for today, with the ST line and the 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 140 horsepower in this case. As I said earlier, you can also get other engine specs for the ST line. That's the difference to the real ST then. But already here you have the sports suspension. And that means, and I actually realized that on the very first few meters, that this suspension is really stiffer than the normal one from the Fiesta. As I've driven the all-new generation from the Ford Fiesta the very first time, it already became clear quite fastly that it is a real fun car. So it is relatively sporty also if you take a look at competitors in the segment. And here now with the sport suspension, this game has been even stepped further. For example here, you have very good connection to the road. Over some bumps, it's almost getting a little bit stiff. The steering wheel feels very natural. It's not the most progressive, not the easiest. You have a good feedback from the road, so it is what you would expect when you also appreciate a natural and rather pure sporty steering feeling. Here now with the 140 horsepower, of course the car has more power than the one we tested earlier in the other review. So I'm really looking forward, because after some city hopping here, which is also part of driving this vehicle, we will also take a spin up to the motorway to boost this engine just a little bit more to see what it performs there. They have massively worked on the sound insulation if you compare the previous generation and this generation, and for example also realized when standing still here now, red traffic light, it's really relatively silent, especially if you compare it to the previous generation. This 3-cylinder engine has some unique sound, as we also know from other 3-cylinders. Somehow they sometimes even sound a little bit sportier than the 4-cylinder. It's a funny thing for sure. Other than that, you don't really realize it. It has some serious power. It's not the heaviest car, especially here in the 140 horsepower spec. It's no problem to go for it. So a 6-speed manual we have here, quite crisp. How you can put in the gears, gives you a sporty feeling. It's not super smooth and soft. It's really, again, optimized rather for a sporty experience if you also interested in shifting, doing that in this way. From the overview, well, the rear windows, they are raising a little bit from the shoulder line, therefore the view is a little bit limited there. To the rear is very good. It's a hatch. You can really see directly where the car is ending. However, if you want so, you can also go for the optional rear view camera if you're not so sure about that. Slaloming this car is really fun. That almost feels like a small sports car. Well, it is partially. So I think they've really done a good job right there in making it a fun ride. So the driving part was actually the one also already last time, which was among the most most convincing parts of our ride. You can actually also stay in higher gears with the turbo here. You don't have to shift back all the time, so you get also enough torque from the lower RPM regions. That's also definitely a very interesting aspect. Neutral is also very easy to find, and with this metal cover it also feels quite good to put in the gears. We really think that have this sporty touch definitely already with the ST line, and I think it is actually a good compromise. The suspension is already a little bit stiffer. It's not as stiff as in a real ST or in a if you think also about the Focus, there's normal one, the ST, the RS, and the top sporty versions are sometimes so harsh from the suspension that real sport freaks appreciate it, like it. But then if you think about most other customers, they might lose just too much comfort by that. And so this one here is a good compromise where you can still say, I get along with it in everyday driving, that's fine. Have it a little bit sportier, but not that sporty that would get too uncomfortable. So I think this is definitely a reasonable choice to go to. This car really wants you actually to drive around the corners all the time in a fast way. It's a really interesting feeling for sure. Good power here in first and second gear as well. And of course it's a small car, so when you have situations like these, where you have two poles, well, I think with any other car I wouldn't have fitted here. Actually with this car, no problem. So this is again the advantage of having a small car. I mean, just when I would have driven maybe a segment higher, would have sweat all over my face probably. So I like the performance also when you're just in the second gear. You don't have to shift all the time. Really handy here around street driving. And I'm not even, pushing it all to the max, the whole car. Third gear. And again, really silent also. The engine is also very well insulated. You only start to hear it when you are really pushing it. Also, this generation is now more comfortable also for a long-term run.
I also like the sport seats. As for the comfort, they make the seat a little bit bigger also. That's at least my impression. So again, also the comfort was improved with this new generation. You still have, still would lack some room in the front here for tall people, not headroom wise, but here it's, you're a little bit caged in, but again, if you want this sporty feeling, then it also might be what you're searching for. So, and I think we've covered a lot of different city elements. Definitely a very good car for the city. Also just thinking about the dimensions. Should head towards the motorway, to the Autobahn, to give you a little bit more of the performance. Here again, it's not very loud. You can relax a little bit more there. This car is, by the way, also equipped with the heated windscreen. I must say I do see that. I see the small cables running through the windscreen. Some don't see it. Depends on. There are two technologies. Is the easier one, a little bit cheaper one with those with those cables in there. And then there's this foil technology. So you have basically a wrap inside the screen. For example, in the Volkswagen Golf is used right there. They can also be heated, but you cannot really see it. That would be the other solution, but it's a little bit more expensive. And here in this small segment, rather go for the little bit cheaper solution. We also have an optional heated steering wheel, by the way, for winter times. Definitely a great thing. Today, it's a little bit too warm for that. And speaking of that, you can very well control also the climate while driving. And what I like is to check actually what's on there, which temperature I have set it to. I don't have to look down. I can just reach out with my hand, touch the climate knob. What's going on here? Now feel bam when I go on and off this small pavement. And then I feel a difference here with the ST line suspension. It's a little bit stiffer than the normal one. So what I was talking about here with the GPS and the infotainment screen, I turn the temperature and then I see it very big here in the screen, which temperature I have it set to, and also when I increase the vent strength. So that's a very good solution that you don't keep the driver distracted. You can easily reach-it, you don't have to look at it, you can still look ahead. And then very well see which temperature you have set it to right there in the screen. So I think, and it only pops up just a few seconds, and then you can still take a look at your normal GPS route, for example, right there again. It's a very good control also with the steering wheel. So overall, I think one of the main characteristics is that you have a great sporty control of the car. And I think it's very important if someone wants to drive a sporty car that you don't have to spend 100,000 euros for some real sports car. That you can also actually combine your everyday life car with a sport car if you like so. And the real ST again is also more expensive. So this ST line is actually also in this case again a very good compromise. And now it's actually quite good that we have the red traffic light, because then we can also show you the acceleration. I'll hit it a little bit more now, and then we'll also go to the motorway. Let's see which direction we're going. So let's check the performance here. Should be green very soon. It's 40, 60. This was a first and second gear. I didn't, totally slip the clutch. It would have been maybe a little bit exaggerated here. So I think we'll go to the left here. Get on the motorway. So now third gear. I'll wait until it's straight. We're not going up the hill, for example. It would be a little bit misinforming then. So at the moment I'm going 70 in the third gear. Let's see, I'll hammer it down. 80, 90, 100. Shift. Fourth gear. 120 and 130. I think that's really reasonable performance. So you can definitely live with that. This engine really plays well together with the overall car. And we can of course also use sixth gear. And now, for example, we're at 125 kilometers an hour and just below 3000 RPM. And again, you feel a massive difference to the previous generation, especially on the higher speeds. With 120 kilometers an hour, they would have been way louder in the previous Fiesta generation, that's for sure. So they've really worked on that. Now it's also very good that we have those straight bumps there all over the road. It's not that even then to really test the suspension, and yeah, it is again stiffer than the normal one, but still I think it's a fairly good compromise. So we can even have some acceleration in the sixth gear, and that's again also due to the turbo. Let's make it a little bit faster now. 160. And this is also good, especially now with the ST line. At higher speeds you have more control over the car. So at the moment, I mean, small cars are not necessarily the best motorway autobahn cars, but at the moment it feels again super much in control. Go back here, turn a little bit up. Actually, you know, it's not a super sports performance, but definitely sufficient. And again, I'm really amazed on how stable this vehicle. What is that? Something hanging off this car. Okay. What the hell? Stuff happens on the road. Almost in every review we have something which is quite strange in driving. Police doing slalom lines on the motorway, things hanging off a car, people throwing out French fries out of the rear window. All of those stuff already happened. So always worthwhile to watch it full review when we do our live on tape reviews. So, for example, also lane changing at higher speeds, how stable the car is. So I'm really impressed by also the higher speed performance of this vehicle. Very well done. So yet again we can say that the driving part is actually the most convincing, the most fun part of the Fiesta. Looks very sporty. The interior part is surely not the real strength, but they really figured out the driving. With city and higher speed autobahn mix, by the way, we're about 9.5 liters now, by the way. With the 100 horsepower spec, we had a total mix of 8 liters on 100 kilometers. However, you know, this would be a rather realistic consumption now, maybe a little bit lower, about 9 liters. But I also want to give you the whole range of what is possible consumption-wise. And well, one thing is to show you the maximum consumption where we can go to with about 9.5. But if we, for example, reset the trip computer now, and we just put it on, by the way, assistance system, there's a blind spot monitor, it's a yellow dot, or orange dot, as soon as some vehicles appear in the blind spot. Very useful system. I would definitely go for it, one of the most important options. We do have a cruise control here, and we can set it just, let's see, also keeps, this is an adaptive one which you can get. We didn't have that one last time, so it's good to test it, ACC. And so when I have it set to 100 kilometers an hour, I'm not driving that fast now, we can really see what's the minimum consumption of that vehicle. And the thing is with those small engines, when you really keep them at low RPMs, you can score phenomenal low consumptions. For example, here at the moment, 3.5 liters. But as soon as you give them a little bit more throttle, it really goes through the ceiling. So this is really when you drive it steady. And I did, approximately the same with the new Audi A8. Total different car. But there it was about 8 liters when you were just going straight, cruise control on the motorway. Then realistically about 10 liters something. Here it is really, you can, 3.5 is of course not really realistic, but if you really keep it steady and just cruise, you could score 4 liters on the motorway. And then again, well, it's always very hard to really describe the realistic consumption figure. Here in this case, it is somewhere between 4 and 9.5 liters, and that shows you now how much it depends really on how you handle this vehicle. However, the good thing is when you have a minimum and a maximum point, there's also a good basis on calculating the average. And when we test cars also for very longer time, then often it becomes clear that the average of those is rather the realistic consumption figure. And if you think about 4 and 9.5, that's 13.5. So just let's round it up, 14, and then you divide it by 2. Then we again at about 7, and that again comes close to the 8 liters we had last time. It was the very same engine, just with a little bit less horsepower output. But then again, we had the automatic gearbox, which is usually, it brings some weight more to the car, and it's also increasing the consumption just a little bit usually. So if you think about, we have the manual gearbox here now, then I think we have a very realistic result. So although it's a small engine, I think when you really push it in the city, and so 7 liters is not too unrealistic. And well, driving wise, the vehicle is really superb. Steering is very well set up. The engine performance is also very good. It's just again with the consumption, we have made the experience that the engines from Ford and also from the Volkswagen Corporation, also VW, Audi, Seat, Skoda, and so on. Those are really good engines, but then again, their consumption is really high. And it's really funny that, when you want to score lower consumptions, you often have to go then to the Japanese manufacturers. They are usually better as for the consumption of the engines. Then again, sometimes they lack a little bit of performance. So again, there I think it really depends on what you really like, what you want. So also now getting on the motorway again. This, by the way, this would be a normal speed where I would enter the motorway, and not pushing it all the way maximum to the floor, keeping it a little bit steadier. Then just, this car, although it's small, feels quite comfortable also on the left lane. If I would just be sitting on the right lane, driving with 100 cruise control steady, this car would actually feel not being used properly. And this also speaks, I think, for the sporty handling characteristics. So if I would pick a car of the line driving-wise, on the one hand, I always enjoy having more comfort. Then again, if you like a little sportier touch, this one could be just right for you. I think it's really suitable as a good compromise. The real ST would, I had the previous generation of the real ST, and to me it felt a little bit too uncomfortable in everyday driving life. It was, of course, even sportier to drive, and maybe a little bit more fun in some situations when the road is flat. But again, I think it's more important that you have even characteristics from the overall elements you have in driving the car. So, a lot of different inside aspects here for you. I hope you enjoyed the ride here with me. I'm continuing now. By the way, we're about 7 liters to 1 kilometers, but to the realistic figure. Again, see how stable the car is, even in higher speeds, it's actually no problem. Sometimes it also serves to wake up your co-driver. So, I would say let's hop on to our final conclusion for today.
And now to our conclusion for today, Ford Fiesta ST line. I think it is a very good compromise that you still have a good price-performance ratio. You can pick the engine which is in your budget, but you already have outside and inside the sporty styling of the Fiesta. And you know, it's a little bit stiffer in riding. It's a very good sporty riding experience. Overall, the whole driving performance is really very good with this vehicle, but it's not as stiff as the real ST version. And that's again would be actually also, you know, my advice. If you want a little sportier Fiesta, then the ST line is really a good choice. In general, to the new generation, has a little bit more room on the inside, but still, you know, the offering of room on the inside is not the best in the segment. This is rather the weakness of the Fiesta. Also, some parts from the build quality could be a little bit better, but it is already a very good step forward if you compare it to the previous generation, especially infotainment-wise. And also, you know, if you want to go with the very biggest screen here. Again, the different screens, you can also check that out in the other review we have made. So a lot of progress here with the new generation. The ST line adds a nice sporty touch to it. Consumption should be lower. That I want to mention here again in the conclusion. But other than that, I think it is really a good car also in the small car segment. And of course, we are looking forward to your feedback. Would you go for an ST line, or would you maybe go with another trim level? You've maybe seen our previous video, then we will also link it again in the video description. And are you looking actually forward to the real ST? We've also shown you in a sneak preview. Then share it with us in the comments. And thank you so much for watching Autogefühl. Please keep supporting us, the whole team. Thank you so much.